there are times when I wonder why. And what I mean by why is, why in the fuck are there 7 Monster Bloods and like 15-ish Night of the Living Dummies? And why aren't there, or at least a single sequel for some of these books that I'm about to be talking about, because that may or may not be the topic of the video. Ooh. Yeah, today I'm going to be discussing books that I think should have gotten sequels. These are all relatively not new. I don't think we need a Scariest Book Ever 2 right off the bat. No, we don't need one. It's not even worthy of a sequel. It's just pretty darn good, not amazing. And not all of these books are amazing. These are just books where I'm like, I would have loved to see that idea expanded upon. And when I say sequels, I mean loose sequels. I mean maybe the same character in a different scenario, maybe the same villain, or maybe just in the same universe with a similar idea. Yeah, just something within the same realm of that book, you know, something. I would have liked to see that. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Goosebumps books that I think should have gotten sequels, or have very good potential to be, have sequel books. Unlike fucking Monster Blood, which doesn't need 7 fucking books. It's ridiculous, but they exist. And we have to live with that. So yeah, these are books that never gotten sequels, and I'm going to be discussing what I think they could do for a sequel, or whatever, what I want to see. Some of these are probably personal bias, because I actually really like a few of these. But at the end of the day, I think these books really could have gotten sequels. And before I get into this, tell me what you think are books worthy of sequels down below. Or just what books you'd like to see a sequel for. Because I'm not bringing up, disclaimer, I'm not bringing up Mutant. Because vaguely, I really don't want to continue that story with Skipper Matthews. I really do not care for the Mutant. I think he's a mediocre villain. I'm not including that one, because that's a very popular one that gets sequel demands, but I'll be including another one, because I think there's more potential for it. So yeah, let's dive in with my first pick, I Live in Your Basement. Keith. Now, I do not want to continue the story of our main character in this book, alright? I don't want to continue off it, I don't want it to be continued at all, alright? Let's just have a new character with Keith, or even a version of Keith. Either way, I want an I Live in Your Basement too. Because I feel like it could very much work. And yes, this book has kind of gotten that already. If you're thinking, what about Monsters at Midnight? Or sorry, not Monsters at Midnight. Download and Die, because Keith actually appeared in that book. Spoiler alert. Keith was in there. I don't think that counts. That doesn't fucking count. I mean, a direct story, House of Shivers or something, maybe a comic, I don't know. Just another version or iteration, or just a direct or indirect sequel of this story, preferably indirect, because I don't want the same main character again, because it would be really stupid to continue off that story, especially this far in the future. Yeah. I really hope that we get a continuation of Keith. I really want to see Keith appear one more time in a standard Goosebumps story, and I'd really like to see what they could do with him this time around, or maybe expand on his character. Yeah, mostly because I want to see Keith return one more time, and I think he is an amazing villain. Also because I think there's potential, and you could even call it I Live in Your Attic, or some other room that you're usually not, you know, fond of. Next up, I think this is a very weird, oddball pick. There's not a lot of people know about this book. Don't Scream. Directly, once again, because of the villain. I think Emmy returning, or at least some other idea in this universe, with electronic devices being sentient, would be really cool. I think Emmy specifically, though, would make most sense return, because we've already seen her and we know what her deal is. I'd like to see what they would do if she returned. And I could even think that maybe the main character could come back for a sequel to Don't Scream, if, God willing, we get one someday, but I don't think that would happen. But this is the one I'm most open to when it comes to main characters returning, because, well, this is a modern book. So yeah, one of the 2 modern books we have on our list today. But yeah, I really would like to see Emmy return, and I'd like to see what they could do with the artificial intelligence. Maybe they could add something new, and with the advancing technology, that would be really cool to see. We're already getting a similar book to that called The Last Sleepover. Apparently there's some sort of Alexa in that book, as well as a angry ghost, but also an Alexa, so pretty cool. For what they could title it, I have no idea. Leave your ideas down below. I don't know what the title Don't Scream 2. Maybe just that, or maybe, I don't know, Please Don't Scream. Something clever. Next up, Why I'm Afraid of Bees. Now, this one is going to be the most loose sequel, because the title and idea would be completely different, besides body switching. Because I think they would obviously bring that back, or maybe something different. And, yeah, Why I'm Afraid of Bees has a very interesting mechanic behind it involving a body switching service, which I think is cool as hell. I'd really like to see that return one day in a Goosebumps story. It could be a comic, I'd love to see the IDW comics, if that returns someday, to bring this idea into them. Or just generally another book involving this idea. Same idea, please. Because I'd write a direct or indirect sequel to this. Not with Gary Letts. Let him rest in peace. He's probably dead by now. For God's sakes, please. I'd like to see this body-switching idea return. This specific one, because I think it is really cool. It's just this company that does this for a small fee. And yeah, you can make it very interesting. Maybe you switch bodies with a normal kid instead of just an animal this time around, malfunctioning. But it turns out the kid maybe is an alien. And actually, Ghosts of Fear Street did that exact plot. I'm not even kidding. Which was an amazing book, by the way. So maybe try your hand at that, Stine. Next up, we have Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. This is the one I'm least open to, I'll say flat out. But I think it has potential, alright? We could see another story where we have this magic spell book that brings things to life. We could see a story with Stanley, and I think the most obvious thing here would probably be a prequel book. Not with Stanley, but maybe with Styx. If anything. If anything. But what I most prefer is just to leave the characters from the book behind, or if you don't, just make it so they come back to the farm and something's awry again with the Scarecrows. I think that's a fine sequel. But I really want to see the magic spellbook expanded upon, of course, at the same farm. Maybe the grandparents who used to live there are dead. Maybe it's the kids of one of the main characters who bought the farm. One of the main characters, the brother or the sister. Maybe one of them bought the farm, got married to someone, had kids, and maybe one of their kids uncovers the spellbook from, like, I don't know, buried in the cornfield. Probably look like shit and has maggots in it, but yeah, you get the idea. I think that would be really cool to see this book return in somewhat of a fashion. Hopefully, what I'm praying for is at the same farm, just because that would just be cool for nostalgia's sake. And you could even call it the Scarecrow's Walk at Daybreak, or something similar, involving a mechanic, of course, or something completely different, just have it be the same characters. Yeah. Next up, My Friends Call Me Monster. Another modern book, and I think this is one that is going to turn some heads. I personally really love this book, and I'd love to see expanded on the ideas in here. Specifically the monsters. What the fuck is going on with them? Because we know a lot about them from the book, but I think it'd be cool to see him return one more time in a completely separate from Monster or Michael Monroe. His story. I'd like to see something completely separate, just another arc involving these egg creatures, and maybe someone is hatching them somewhere else on Earth. Maybe it could be in, like, Hawaii. That would be funny. Either way, I think it'd be really cool to see these guys return one more time, and to see some mayhem with them. Especially, maybe some more expanding of their lore or ideas. Yeah, just another in-universe story with these same monsters here. And finally, probably the most requested Goosebumps sequel of all time. My hair is a fucking mess. And probably the most requested Goosebumps sequel of all time. Oh my god, I just realized this copy has a Scholastic Book Fair sticker on it. We have Falling All Creeps. Alright, let me be real here. I do not want to fucking see Ricky Beamer. Let his story rest, let the twist ending be itself. Alright, I think it is absolutely fine the way it is. And this is what I'm trying to do, alright? This whole video, I've been saying, don't make it a sequel. Because I don't want to see these stories ruined or expanded upon in a way that might be ass. Even if it's a perfect, amazing 10 out of 10 sequel, I don't want to take the risk. Let alone, I think it's stupid. Alright? Why make a sequel to something that is like 40 years old? Beetlejuice, for fuck's sakes. That movie is old. It's fucking ancient. And we got a sequel. And I think it's a good sequel, nonetheless. It's a fun movie. And that one works more because it's a fucking film. And you don't have to make it so, it's the same characters at the same time or demographic. You can still do that with movies, just like movies. The actors age. In books, it doesn't make sense, especially in the Goosebumps franchise, make a direct sequel to a book that came out like 30-something years ago. It just feels stupid. So please, understand what I'm about to say. No Ricky fucking Beamer. I don't want any of the other characters besides maybe Scarecrow, because I think that could work okay. Just another in-universe story with the creeps. I think they don't have to hide it. Just like the original book, it only took about 30-40 pages from the real creeps, which is fine if they do that again if the creeps do return. And they are popular villains, and I can absolutely see this one being repented for maybe season 3 of Goosebumps. God willing, they choose this one, which is highly likely. Let's not deny it. This is a popular fucking book. Very popular. I can absolutely see this one being reprinted very soon. And, yeah, I think a sequel is a must, honestly. this is a very sequel-wanted book. And of all Goosebumps books to get a sequel, this one would have the most hype garnered next to Mutants, which I do not want to see a Mutant sequel. I feel like there's nothing there to bite off besides, hey, it's the Masked Mutant. But yeah, the creeps, there's a lot you can do with the creeps. You can make a whole new setting for them to be taken over. Maybe instead of taking over a school, maybe it's just a typical neighborhood. Maybe it's a summer school. Maybe it's a boarding school, which would even be cooler. You can get really creative here. Very, very creative. And I'm very excited to see, if we ever get a sequel, what Stine might cook up. Or maybe someone in a comic or something. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And tell me what you think are worthy sequel books down below once again. And tell me what you think of my picks down below as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.